TheRewindSports60.com.
The Rewind
Sports 60. From the city of big shoulders, the jewel of the Midwest, comes a sports show that's one of a kind. From iconic players to iconic stadiums to iconic teams, this is my kind of town. Chicago! And the Rewind Sports 60 is my kind of show. From Air Jordan to Sweetness to Papa Bear Hallis, this city works hard, but plays even harder. Danny Carlino and Jerry Riles bring you the Rewind Sports 60. Live. The Rewind Sports 60 starts now.
That ball hit hard, deep, way back. He looks up, you can't put it on the board. Yes! He drops the ball. Call your sons, call your daughters, call your friends, call your neighbors.
Oh, it's in the air! It's in the air, ladies and gentlemen! Yes, take it easy, calm down, relax everybody, yes, okay! Take it easy! Oh my goodness, in the air, Marver! It's in the air! Woo! Welcome everyone to another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. We're streaming live on Facebook, broadcasting from the world famous WCPT 820 AM in the beautiful, beautiful city of Chicago, in the great town of Jefferson Park on the city's north side. This is another edition of the Rewind Sports 60. It is the fastest hour in sports conversation. We want you to strap it in and strap it down. Our number here is 773-763-9278, 773-763-WCPT. Marvelous, what are you laughing at over there?
Oh, you know what? I got something here for you kids at home.
Stay away from me if you got something over there. I don't want it.
Kids, this is a transistor radio.
What is that?
That's and I'm going to be listening to Andy Mazer and/or Pat Hughes tonight, and I'm psyched.
Oh my God, we're all psyched, ladies and gentlemen. We got baseball is in the air. It's an exhibition game. It's taking place here in the great city of Chicago. It's going to be unraveling on the north side at the friendly confines Wrigley Field, but it's the north side against the south side. The Hatfields against the McCoys, and the Cubs against the White Sox over at Wrigley Field, and everyone's excited, and we're excited. Just the fact that there's baseball.
Yeah, I didn't see any traffic though.
Well, you're right. I didn't see any traffic either. Maybe there's a lot of, as they say, walk-up traffic, Marvelous.
Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's the one. He's the only. He's in the studio, not at Wrigley Field, at the friendly confines, gearing up for this clash. He is the marvelous one, Dan Marver, in our house in the studio. What's up, Dan?
Jerry, how you doing? You know, I mean, I'm not on the press row, so I couldn't get in that way, and I can't afford the rooftops. It'll be interesting to see what that's like too, the rooftop situation, if they're social distanced or not.
Well, I guess they're well, it's $350 a pop.
Yeah.
Depending on who's in town. I think with the Brewers it's $350.
Yeah.
It's, depending on who, it goes from $350 to $400.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, but I think they're expected 25% capacity on the rooftops there.
Yeah.
So I mean, it is pretty pricey. Yeah. But if you want to check out, if you want to take in a game, boom.
Yeah, they'll just increase the beer price, to compensate.
Well, that's the thing. It's all inclusive, right? You can drink as much as you want, but we don't recommend that you drive afterwards.
No, take the L.
Yeah, take the L or stumble home or whatever you have to do. Ladies and gentlemen, you love her.
Uber.
She's fantastic. She's awesome. She's stupendous. She's phenomenal. She's in studio. She just made it here by the hair of her chinny chin chin.
I did,
She's
but I'm
looking
here.
lovely and fabulous, ladies and gentlemen. She's Lauren Cox. What's up, Lauren? How are you?
Hi, how are you, gentlemen, on this beautiful Sunday evening? How are you all?
Great.
Well,
Good to
we're
be
doing okay.
here.
It's, man, I'm
Ready for
happy to be here as well.
sports.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here as well. And,
And well and healthy.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
all of that, because
Believe
there
it.
still is a pandemic going on. Even though people aren't acting like it, there's still a pandemic going on, and people are getting tested, and they're positive every day. So,
Yeah.
Okay. I'm negative. I was tested
okay. All right. When did you get your test?
Wednesday.
Okay. I'm thinking about getting one. What about you, Jerry? Are you going to get a test?
No,
or no?
but I gave blood last week, and I'm waiting for the results to come back. So I haven't heard any negative
Okay.
news or anything, so I believe I'm okay. But I don't know if I should say this, but I guess I will say it. Marvelous, I commend you, and I commend all of those individuals out there getting getting tested for coronavirus.
It's scary, in case you actually have it.
It is scary if you actually have it. There's no question about it.
Yeah.
But the testing itself,
Oh yeah, baby.
you have the option, right, Dan? Marvelous.
Yeah,
You can either do it through the nostrils, through the nose,
Yeah.
or
Throat.
the back of your mouth, your
Yeah.
throat.
Well, at least I didn't have a choice where I went.
Yeah, like why would you choose?
Why would you choose to be tortured?
So you evidently haven't been tested.
No.
Well, I don't wanna
I'm
scare you.
considering taking a test tomorrow
Do it.
because
Yeah.
they
Do
have
it.
free testing
Do it.
at my mom's.
I don't know.
But on one hand, I'm like, I don't want to know because
Why?
I'm not doing anything differently.
That has nothing to do with anything.
And the thing is, you could be
It
positive.
has nothing to do with anything.
You
Don't
could've-
start that, Lauren. I'm not doing anything differently. Yeah, of course. The next thing you know, boom.
No, I'm saying now. Like if I find out, then of course. But it's like
Do it.
I feel like that could
Do it.
like bring it to me.
Right, but that doesn't tell
Is
you.
that crazy?
That
What do
doesn't
you-
tell you if you've had it, though. That's the other thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just do it. Recommend everyone going out there. There's free testing. There are 6 testing locations in the city of
Okay,
Chicago.
I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do it. I'm
But
gonna
just
do it
brace
tomorrow.
yourself. And Marvelous said,
But I'm not doing the
choice.
one down the throat, though. I'm not doing that.
You're not?
Do the
No.
throat. Do
Take
the
it
throat.
easy.
Do the
I'm
throat.
not doing.
Do the
I'm
throat.
not doing that
Do
one.
the throat.
So you're gonna
That took me out.
Wait, listen. this is.
I would-
I mean, unless
Hey,
I
listen.
absolutely have to,
Lauren.
but like voluntarily,
Lauren,
no.
we love you. This is a public service announcement from yours truly, Jerry Riles at Rewind Sports 60 WCPT 820 AM. It's a public service announcement for you and everyone else that's listening. You're going to take the test. Lauren,
Yes.
and Marvelous probably can attest to this. Just my humble opinion,
Oh boy.
Lauren, I think you want to go down the throat.
Yeah.
What?
I think you
Yeah.
want to try that.
Why?
Because
Believe me.
I know somebody.
I think you want to try to go down the throat.
I know somebody in my household who's had to test each way and go with the throat.
Yeah. Yeah.
See,
Lauren, I didn't. And of course, you know that I got the flu at the start of the year,
Yes,
right?
we all
And I
know.
got tested, right? Yeah. For those of you who didn't know, I did. I got the flu, right? And you know how they tested me? They took this long ass stick. It's like a Q-tip. Like Donald Trump said, "Hey, it looked like a big Q-tip." Remember he said that? Lauren, I swear to you. I didn't know what to expect, Lauren. The nurse came in there. So, Mr. Riles, we're gonna take a test. I said, okay, cool. Just let me make sure I got what I got. You gonna give me some medicine? We'll be okay. Okay, Mr. Riles. Okay, we're just gonna take. Lauren, if you're watching at home on your Facebook, Lauren,
please don't put this on the airways. 'Cause you don't
no, I
scare
got to put it
people.
on there. I'm not scaring anybody. It's for
Scare
your health
me.
and it's for your good.
But-
the
so-
lady came and said, "Hey, Mr. Riles, we're just gonna take this little. It's long as hell. I swear to God, it's like a yardstick. You know when you got smacked in class in school, a yardstick, 7 inches exactly. Devin Tingle, yeah. Lauren,
God.
Lauren, sitting down, Lauren. I swear to you. I thought the woman put all 7 inches up my nose.
Yeah.
I swear to you. I nearly kicked her in wherever I could kick her. My head almost exploded. I swear to it was unbelievable.
So,
no.
Jerry, this was when you had the flu before. There was
Corona.
No, so this wasn't even the official Corona test yet.
No.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Lauren. Oh my God, it's right. I thought the lady was trying to kill me. I thought, what is wrong with you?
You were lucky. You were lucky.
That was luck.
Yeah, I'll tell you why. I had a man.
Take it easy.
and he wanted to show his muscles.
I bet he did. hey, Marvelous, did he turn the lights down and put some Luther Vandross on it?
No. He said
the candles going for you.
He said.
Ask you if you wanted some vino.
No, he said you have to hold still.
I bet he did. Hold still, big boy.
Oh gosh.
Hey, it'll hurt for a minute, then you relax, you'll be okay.
No.
And they had these cones, and I drove out.
He did.
They had the cones for the lineup of how to get in.
How many cones did he have?
I don't know. All I know is I drove out, and I had all these orange cones under my car because I couldn't see. My eyes were all watered.
Take it easy. Hey, this is a family show. Come on now, Marvel.
I'm just talking about a virus test. I don't know.
Yeah, well, we don't want you to have any viruses, that's for sure. Especially after going through the test that you went through.
Yeah.
No. Hey, we're joking here. It's the Rewind Sports 60. Real sports, real talk, just plain real. But we're serious as well. We want to make sure that you all get out there, and if you haven't been tested, please get tested. If you have been tested and you're negative, if you see us on Facebook, we got our mask on. I have a beautiful scarlet red mask on to represent the Ohio State Buckeyes. Wear a mask. Wear it.
Yeah.
It's the least you can do. And, support your local businesses. Mm-hmm. And I know there are a lot of people out there complaining that I don't want to wear a mask. It's uncomfortable. And my good friend, Howard Brookins of the 21st Ward here in Chicago, he said it's better to be 6 feet away from the next person, social distancing, as opposed to 6 feet under. Mm-hmm. So when you don't want to wear a mask, just think about that for a second.
Do you know people who really don't? Like, I don't, like, my personal friends and family members and people I work with are, like, wearing masks and it's not a problem. I would like to understand more from the people who just think it's a huge problem. Their rights are being violated because they can't wear a mask.
I certainly don't understand it either. I certainly, and you know what? It's interesting because prior to the pandemic, businesses could tell you, hey, no shoes, no shirt, no service. Yeah. And people abided by that.
Yes.
They acknowledged it and said, hey, you know what? I got to put a shirt on to go to 7-Eleven. I got to put some shoes on if I want to go on to, Walgreens or whatever the case may be. But you tell them to put a mask on and they feel like you're violating
It's a
them.
whole bunch of other stuff that they're going into with,
It doesn't make any sense to me. It really doesn't make any sense, and it's just to protect yourself. And what was what's his name? The game show host?
Oh, Chuck Woolery. Chuck Woolery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You saw the tweets earlier this week.
It says it's a hoax, right?
Yeah. Then the next thing he comes out and say, "Oh, my son tested positive for it."
See.
Now he feels like an egghead. Yeah. Unbelievable. Folks, this stuff is serious. And again, I commend the great Mayor Lori Lightfoot, and I commend...
She went off this week, didn't you see her?
Well, they went off on her.
Yeah.
They're outside our house.
Well,
they're outside our house.
Well, I mean, the killings are not good.
No, it's not.
It's not,
but here's the deal. Here's the deal. And Chicagoans, you guys have to stop. Just stop it. You West Siders, you South Siders, Inglewood, Austin community, stop it. Shut it down. Shut it down. It's ridiculous. But for them to try to point the finger at this new police chief and Lori Lightfoot, the woman's
How are you trying to blame on the police chief? He just got there.
Yeah, right. Barely been in office. Barely been in office. This stuff has been going on literally in Chicago since, I think the 70s, late 70s was probably the bloodiest time in our city's history. I don't know the numbers. I think the numbers were well over 1,000 in deaths. Back in the late 70s, the 80s, kind of tapered down. Harold Washington got some things under control. Then the 90s, it went back up, and now, we are where we are. So to point the finger at Lori Lightfoot for all the violence that's going on, and the woman's only been in office, for a short period of time, it's just utterly ridiculous. It's just utterly ridiculous. And I understand it's part of the territory. When you're the leader, people are going to take shots at you.
Right.
Because their guy or their person didn't get into the office and not sitting in that seat. So, they're going to do what they're going to do. I understand that. But as far as these shootings and these murders are concerned here in the great city of Chicago, it's just ridiculous.
And children, too. I mean, it's terrible.
Well, here's the bad thing about it. It's not only children now. We know about the 1-year-old, the 3-year-old, the 7-year-old, the 13-year-old over the past couple of weeks that were shot and killed. Now I understand that they're taking aim at African-American women. There was a young lady last week that said she was walking down the street. Car drove by her. The guy imitated with his hand a gun like he was shooting at her. They turn around, come back the opposite direction from which she and her girlfriend were walking, and they did it again. Then they turned around and they actually unloaded on him. Fortunately, not for her, she wasn't killed. But the point of the matter is, they're not only targeting the people that they're after, they're missing them and hitting the little kids, but now they're targeting African American women.
Is this gang related mostly, or?
Well, that's what they want you to believe.
Yeah.
There's some underlying systemic issues taking place regarding the shootings that are going on, because you can't tell me they're only happening on the west side and the south side. Chicago is a big, beautiful city. Mm-hmm. But those are the two central areas of crime.
Exactly.
In the community. And so you can't just say, what's going on over there? There's a reason that the shootings are taking place in those particular areas. There's a reason behind it. Now, how do you solve it? Let me tell you something. If I had the answer, you'd be calling me Mayor Jerry Riles. But I'm not. I don't have the solution. I can throw some solutions out there, but at any rate,
we all can do our part, and we all can give back in our own ways, and we all need to do more of that.
Well, here's the deal, and it starts with it starts with the mama in the house. And there was a black African American woman whose child was shot. I think a 15, 16-year-old kid, and she came out in the media and said, "Hey, wait a minute." She said, "It's up to us to stop this." And she said what I've been thinking for a while. She said, those individuals who are committing these crimes in our neighborhood, she goes, we know them. Somebody knows them. She said,
it's someone's son.
It's somebody's son. It's somebody's nephew. It's somebody's cousin. It's somebody. She said that they're eating your food. They're living in your house. They're sleeping in your bed. You know who they are. Mm-hmm. Yet you won't turn them over, or you won't say anything about it.
Well, and that is the problem.
Yeah. That is the problem.
Yeah.
That is the problem. But we digress. I mean, this is the Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT 820 AM. And, we miss sports. We love sports. And we sleep, eat, and breathe sport. But we live in a real world, a real society as well. And we're affected by the crime. We're affected by the virus. We're affected by things that affect the human race in our city. And we have to talk about it. We have to address it. And we got to hopefully work with the community leaders and our political leaders and see if we can collectively come up with some sort of solution or some sort of, Band-Aid that we can put on this thing until we can really find a solution to turn the corner. So, as they said when this pandemic started, we're all in this together. I don't care what you want to say, what you want to think, what you want to feel. We're all in this together. Mm-hmm. And this pandemic, we say it week in and week out, the old cliche is that it takes no prisoners, and it'll take you down quickly. It will take you down, Marvelous. Yeah. So get on out there and get tested. There's no question about it. The best thing to do is to know. But I tell you, Lauren, you probably want to go with the throat.
Oh, okay.
Go with the throat.
Yeah. All right.
If it's available,
Okay. Yeah, it depends on where you go. We're going out to the friendly confines. Why? Because there's baseball in the air. You can hear the organ playing, and you can smell the popcorn. Maybe if you're on the rooftop, you can smell the hot dogs, and maybe you can taste a cold one going down. But I know this gentleman.
Paint the picture, Jerry.
I'm telling you, this gentleman, ladies and gentlemen, he's actually at the friendly confines, ready to take in the first baseball game of this 2020 shortened season, 60-game season. Over at the friendly confines, the Cubs hosting the Chicago White Sox.
For practice.
Exhibition game, of course. He's none other than Chicago Sun-Times, Chicago Cubs beat writer, Gordon Whitmire on our TR60 hotline. Gordon, how are you, man?
I'm doing okay. It feels a little insignificant and trivial to come on after what you guys are talking about and talk about baseball, though.
Well, you know what? It's America's favorite pastime, and I tell you, we've all, as they say in the hood, we've been itching for a scratch, and we've been looking for sports, man, and it's finally here, albeit it's an exhibition game. It's the great rivalry between the Northsiders and the Southsiders, the Cubs and the Sox, and who better to come on the Rewind Sports 60 on WCPT and paint the picture for us as far as what the atmosphere is like over at the Friendly Confines just under an hour before the first pitch is thrown between these two teams. How's it going over there?
Yeah, it's crazy because, like you said, we're 50 minutes from game time, and there's no fans. You know, we got the organ music playing like that's normal. We got the grounds crew out there getting the field ready, the final touches, and both teams have just gotten done stretching and taking batting practice. So, but there's no buzz of a crowd. There's no. It's surreal, you know. It's post-apocalyptic almost, you know.
Yeah. You know, it's interesting. Go on. I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, you know, maybe it'll feel a little more normal when they play. I know they've been piping in fake fan noise on the PA system during these scrimmages, and we're going to get some more of that. So it might feel just a little bit more normal.
No, you know what? It might feel a little bit normal. I know it's kind of odd, you know, being there in person. And God knows there are a lot of Cub fans, a lot of Sox fans that wish they were over on Clark and Addison right now to take in this baseball game. But watching on the tube, you know, once you get past, the fans in the stands, so to speak, you know, it was really good yesterday and refreshing to watch some baseball. The White Sox had their inter-squad game between each other over there on the south side at, I still like to call it Comiskey, but of course it's Guaranteed Rate Field. And, you know, to watch it on NBC Sports Chicago, it was really, really cool and refreshing to watch some baseball. And, you know, Luis Robert, I like to call him Robert. I think his name is Roberts, but I think when you put the...
Robert, right?
I like Robert. I like that. But this dude, he's unbelievable. But he cranked a shot out, I think, in the fourth inning. He took it. You've been over to Comiskey Park or Guaranteed Rate Field. He hit the ball so hard, so deep, it almost went on the concourse. It was one row away from going on the concourse. And it was just electrifying just to see this and hear the pop of the bat and just see baseball, despite the fact that there weren't any real fans in the stand. But it was really refreshing just to see these guys playing baseball. And I know a lot of Chicago sports fans are looking forward to watching this exhibition game tonight over at Wrigley.
Yeah, I've been out here to all the practices and scrimmages since they allowed the media in. And as weird and surreal as it's been every day, you know, you're wearing masks all over the place in the press box, and you're getting in as late as they can allow you, and you're getting out as soon as you can when you're done. But there have been moments where, because you're seeing baseball again, and because it's the same group of guys, and there is some familiarity and normalcy to it, that I've allowed myself to sort of let down my guard for a moment emotionally and just sort of feel like, hey, you know, it's kind of nice to see baseball again. So I totally hear what you're saying. And just today, just this afternoon, while the Cubs are taking batting practice, to see a team in another uniform start to filter in and stretch and play catch in right field, that was just one more layer of normalcy to get added to it. So hopefully they're able to pull this thing off. I mean, they're still threading the needle, and really threading a needle every day to make this happen, with 30 teams in 30 different places. And so it's going to be kind of hold your breath every day for all 60 games of the season. But if they can do it, and when they can do it, when they're getting it done, it is going to just kind of be nice to have that summer day of baseball back.
Yeah, it certainly will be, and what better way to see it over at the Friendly Confines, Wrigley Field. Albeit it's hot as hell out there, but it's a beautiful summer day, and going to be a beautiful summer evening, and it's just great for baseball. Real quick, can you take us through the process that you had to go through in getting in, to the ballpark, getting inside? going up to the press box, and I know you guys allocated certain seats, and you have to be social distancing in the whole 9 yards. What's the game plan for Gordon Wittenmeyer and all the other media who are allowed to cover the team and cover these games? What was the process getting into the ballpark, and what's expected from you guys?
Well, each day we find out what the next day's ballpark time is, and they're pretty strict about when they open it up. And every single day you have to get a separate credential. You have to apply for and be credentialed day to day, no matter what your status is as a beat writer. And so there's no season pass. So you start by going to the window with your mask on and making sure you're on the list and getting your credential. Then you go through the check-in process where they take your temperature and they ask you a long list of questions to make sure that you don't have symptoms or that you haven't traveled to a certain place. And then you go through the rest of the otherwise normal stuff to get in. Then once you get in, it's mask on all the time. There's only so many places you're allowed, like, to take a picture in the grandstand area. And then when you get to the press box, everything is, they've got plexiglass plates up separating some of the spaces to work, and they've definitely spaced out all the spots. So there's a maximum of 35 allowed at a time, which is probably, well, quite a bit less than half of what would be ordinary. And it's really strict on that. Hand sanitizer everywhere. And again, constantly wearing that mask. And as soon as things are done, you have like about an hour after things are done just to get out, or security's there starting to usher you out.
Hey, Gordon, this is Dan Marver in the studio. How you doing? Couple questions.
Yeah.
There's actually going to be more than 30 locations, since there'll be baseball in Buffalo or Dunedin, Florida, apparently, not Toronto. But
exactly.
In any event, what does it look like? Are there going to be people up on the roof that will provide some crowd noise, or what does that look like? Rooftops.
Yeah, I wondered if that was going to happen during these exhibition games, and apparently not. I mean, there's nobody up there now, but we've been told that they've sold out of the 20% capacity that they're allowed to have up on those rooftops, starting, I would guess, Friday. So that's going to be really interesting to see, because I think that's going to provide. I mean, I'm just looking out there now at those rooftops, and it's going to be especially eye-catching, I think, since there's no fans in the regular seating area. And so you're going to hear these roars from these rooftops just outside the stadium and be able to see the fans. And unlike the piped-in noise, which seems to not quite time up with the action perfectly, it's going to be a more natural timing of those roars, too. So it does seem to promise a different element than other ballparks are going to be able to provide. And I don't know if that means a home field advantage for the Cubs or not, but it will be a different experience even at Wrigley Field than you'll see at other ballparks, I think.
Gordon Wittenmeyer on our TR60 hotline, covering your Chicago Cubs, the White Sox and Cubs, ready to square off in the first exhibition game of this shortened 60-game season that gets underway next weekend. Were you surprised that that Canada said, "Hey, wait a minute, you know what? There's no sports taking place up here, man. We're not messing around with this," and they told the Blue Jays, you got to figure something else out, Major League Baseball, because it's not happening up in our neck of the woods, that, of course, being Canada. Were you surprised by that?
I'm not surprised. What federal government in the world wants Americans coming into their place right now? I mean, really, that's what it's all about, right?
Yeah.
29 other teams coming from the United States. I wouldn't want them in my country either, given what the rates are of this virus in Canada. You're just asking for trouble. I mean, we know how poorly this has been handled in this country, and why we've got so many just enormous hotspots going right now and no end in sight to the spread of this thing, where other countries have been able to flatten their curves and get some semblance of control over it. And Canada's certainly one of those. I wouldn't want Americans crossing my border to come play baseball either. So no, it doesn't surprise me.
So Gordon, when I say we as Americans, Major League Baseball, are they making a big mistake in trying to pull this thing off?
Is it a mistake? I mean, it's economics, right? I mean, it's a $10.7 billion a year industry, and they're trying to recoup at least some of the billions of that by playing. That's part of it. They're also professionals, so these players have the right to opt out or opt in, and so there's that. But I think certainly ethically, morally, just from a health risk standpoint, you could certainly make the case that maybe we shouldn't do this. And especially, look, they negotiated all the protocols and they negotiated all the economics in May and June. As it looked like we were getting places like New York and the Seattle area and parts of California kind of under control. And then all of a sudden, by the time everything was finalized and we started ramping up toward teams reporting to their cities, the hotspots started emerging at an increasing rate all over the Sun Belt, and in well over a third of places where they have baseball teams. So, yeah, you could certainly make that case. That said, I will say that within the industry, what MLB and the players have been able to do, it's a remarkably low percentage of positive tests so far. And really, you can't, this every other day thing, you're basically testing people that are already negative, so your numbers are going to go down just mathematically. But the intake testing was pretty low, and that was impressive. And they've been able to kind of stay on top of it within the industry. What happens when they start traveling and mingling teams and going to these hot spots repeatedly in some of these divisions, remains to be seen. And then, my 19-year-old daughter brought it up the other day, too, and she was asking me about their testing. She said, well, why are they taking testing away from people that need it in the rest of the country? And it's certainly a fair question to ask.
Wait, repeat that? What did she say to you?
She asked me, well, why are they taking testing capacity away from people other people in the country that might need it? And there's, you can get into the weeds on, it's their PED testing lab that they already have a relationship with, and they repurposed it for this purpose, and so it's not per se part of the general testing capacity, but it could certainly be repurposed for the general public. And there is a second lab that certainly would be used for more of the general public that they're making use of. So it's a fair question. All the way around, it's a fair question. It all boils down to priorities, I guess. National priorities.
Yeah, and it's interesting. I'm sure you heard the comments about a couple of weeks ago. Buster Olney at ESPN said he was 5% convinced that if we get the season started, 0% that the season will go complete 60 games playoff championship. How close to accurate do you think his statement is and was?
Yeah. I'm generally thinking along the same lines as him. I didn't, when we first started this, I wondered if we would get to opening day. After seeing the first, 5 or 6 days of the testing process, I thought, okay, we're going to get to opening day. But then what? Because really it takes, if you get an outbreak on a team, and by the time you have an outbreak on your team, they've probably exposed at least one other team. You get 2 outbreaks. You get 2 teams with outbreaks where you lose a significant number of players to where a team now is not viable. As soon as you get a couple teams that aren't viable, you don't really have a league that's viable. And so that it becomes a longer and longer long shot the further we go into this, I think. And so I'm kind of with Buster on this, whether it's 5% or what. I mean, we'll get started for sure. And it may take, 3, 4, 5 rounds of traveling for some of these road series.
That's the whole season.
What we're going to be facing. I mean, that's maybe like 2 weeks in. We'll get a pretty good picture of what the chances are of this.
There you go.
Yeah, in addition to Canada, they have a 14-day ban, so that would have been impossible anyway. To have a 14-day quarantine if you go into Canada for a series, so that was impossible.
Well, it depends too, because like for instance, we have the Chicago quarantine rule in place, but they've exempted baseball. They've exempted certain businesses that have protocols already in place.
I see.
Anything else?
So I don't know. I don't know how that would have applied to Toronto.
Yeah, no. The Cubs and the city of Chicago, the mayor's office came out about a week ago, and so it said that it doesn't apply. The 14-day quarantine coming from these hot states does not apply to professional teams.
I think Canada ruled otherwise, actually.
Yeah. Well, You know what, Gordon? We appreciate your time. And what's the food? Do they get food for you guys up in the press box there?
No, I think that's maybe why we're not all sold out up here in the press box.
Well, how many? I understand that
no free food for the writers, so it's not a full house.
You have to bring a lunch pail.
How many media reporters are in the press box with you? Would you guess?
Actually, I'm exaggerating a little bit because the White Sox are in town. We've got probably at our capacity today at 35, but up until now it's been, just 6, 7, 8 at a time on a given day.
Yeah. You know what? Again, kudos to Major League Baseball with all the testing, over 10,000 tests this past, the past few weeks that they've had, and they've only, I guess, had 6 or 7 people tested positive. I think 6 players and maybe a couple front office people that test positive. So as far as the numbers are concerned, it's looking good. But I'm with you and Buster as well. It's very, very difficult for me to see them getting through, the 60-game schedule and of course playoffs and all that good stuff. But I think baseball is in a better situation, Gordon, than the National Football League. I
agree with that.
My mind is boggled when it's a contact sport. It's a contact
exactly.
sport. It makes no sense.
Every single play is exposure. Every single play.
Yeah.
You're exchanging, breath and fluids and everything else.
Yeah.
It's a collision.
Yeah. And Gordon, you've been around for quite some time. You're an excellent writer, fantastic. You're just a down-to-earth, cool guy, man. Help me out understand this one. They're going to play football, supposedly, right? And the players say, hey, they come out, Patrick Mahomes and some other players say, hashtag, we want to play, we're ready to play. The owners say, hey, wait a minute. Okay, we want to play. We're going to try to get this thing together. But after banging heads with each other and locking spit and snot and blood and whatever else, at the end of the game, please don't exchange jerseys. Don't do that ritual anymore.
Yeah, what's up with that?
Help me out here. Gordon, help me. Help me out.
Has the ship not already sailed on that at that point? Really? To the end of the game, everybody's all beat up. Everybody's got everybody else's blood and spit on it. You can't exchange a jersey?
Yeah.
Give me a break. That makes no sense.
Unbelievable.
I don't know where that comes from.
Unbelievable, brother. Hey, man, keep up the good work, and we'll be following you on. If anyone wants to get a hold of you, they want to follow Gordon Whitmire, what do they need to do? What's your handles, buddy?
At GDubCub.
There you go.
Simple.
You're the best, brother. God bless you. Stay safe.
Thanks for having me on, guys.
Thank you for joining us. We'll talk to you down the road. He's the best, ladies and gentlemen. Gordon Whitmire on our TR60 hotline, live from Wrigley Field. The Cubs and the White Sox getting their first exhibition baseball game. They're clashed together for this 2020 season. At the friendly confines, less than an hour away. We'll be watching. There's no question about it, Marvelous.
Yeah, well, I'm just going to mention, too, that this portion of the Rewind Sports 60 is sponsored by Serenello's Ristorante Italiano in Wheeling. As part of our ongoing effort to slow the community transmission of COVID-19, Serenello's is now open to provide dine-in service, delivery and carry-out options, too. Come back to us, or let us come to you. Get your favorite dishes delivered in a flash, curbside menu, carry-out menus, order delivery. Give Serenello's a call today at 847-777-6878. That's 847-777-6878. Serenello's is located at 601 North Milwaukee Avenue in Wheeling. Tell Chef Michael Bonner and his team, the Rewind Sports 60, encourage you to support local by dining in or ordering online. Remember to stay safe and perfect social distancing.
Yeah, definitely do it. Hey, we got to say kudos to our colleague Gabe Salgado. He and his wife, they tested again. They had tested positive initially for the COVID virus, and they were under quarantine. They tested this past week, and the results came back negative. So kudos to them. Congratulations. Awesome. Thank God. And we hope to see Gabe here in the studios in the next couple of weeks or so. But Lauren, that's your cue to handle your business
to
and
do
get
my thing.
Yeah, do your thing, girl.
All
do
right.
your thing.
Down and throw. Okay.
What do you got else for us, Lauren?
So the 3 hot topics of the week. The WNBA denying Mystics Elena Deladona's request to opt out of the 2020 season due to medical reasons. I know you guys heard about that. She has Lyme disease.
But they're going to pay her.
But they are going to pay her now. But initially they were wondering, because she was MVP, is it, was that tied to the fact that they were saying that they would not allow, they weren't going to pay her possibly due to a medical exception. And more players are testing positive for corona. We know Russell Westbrook recently tested positive, Puig, and Eric Bledsoe also from Milwaukee tested positive. So, this thing is serious. And one of the NFL players were talking about how one of their family members tested positive, then his wife tested positive, then he tested positive, then all his kids tested positive, and they took a family trip and they were with their in-laws and they tested positive, and the father-in-law recently got out of the hospital. So, this is serious in terms of the effects of the players and wanting to make sure that everybody is safe, because it just doesn't affect them. It affects their family members in the community at large. So I know they're trying to do what they can, but we all need to do what we can to minimize our contact and exposure to this deadly pandemic and disease. And then the NFL rookies are reporting to training camp. It's a big issue because there are a lot of questions. The players listed preseason testing, training camps among details that are still unknown and not flushed out. So will be really interesting and waiting to see exactly how all of this is going to pan out, specifically to the NFL. I mean, you guys talked about it's a contact sport at the highest level. And to minimize exposure, please, how are they going to do that? So we'll be waiting and seeing.
Oh, you forgot the fourth one, the most important one. National Ice Cream Day today.
Wait, what?
National Ice Cream Day is today.
Don't start with
National Ice Cream Day today.
Are you kidding me?
No.
Really?
Oh, man.
Go to Dairy Queen.
How did I
wherever.
miss that?
Oh, wow. National Ice Cream
Yeah,
Day.
like Dairy Queen's $1 off any size dipped cone, for example. So.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Thanks, Marvelous.
Yeah.
But those are...
They're not even a sponsor. Baskin Robbins. Okay.
Yeah, say your name again.
Yeah, right.
Say your name for it. No, wow, I didn't know that, Marvelous.
Okay.
Man, I got to watch myself. I got to, I'm fighting myself from doing it. But one of the other stories that was major as far as the world of sports is concerned, obviously last week, heading into, Monday, the big conversation on the table was the Washington National Football League team that finally was forced to drop their nickname and
Ridiculous.
in hopes of, coming up with a new nickname. But then Lauren, the allegations of sexual harassment in the front office.
Ridiculous.
Unbelievable. What, 15 women have come out and said, hey, they were sexually harassed by not only sales manager, front office people, but even the team announcer.
Come on. That
Unbelievable.
Can you believe
what was
that
your thoughts
culture?
behind that when you found that out?
It was just extremely disturbing to hear. I really, looked into it, and you'd heard rumblings of things before about the culture behind the team, just starting from the owner on down to the name. And years ago that report had came out about the cheerleader, of course, but when you look deeper into these stories, these women, the way that they were treated, it was just unfathomable. And, it prevented, one of the young ladies was telling her story, she couldn't even have access to the players. And she didn't even feel comfortable. And that's her job, is to report on the players. She had to go and interview Quintin Portis, who played for the team many, many years ago, to get a story about a current player, because she didn't have access to the players after she had a situation totally unwarranted between her and one of the high-level execs at that company. And, it's not just those individual stories, it's the culture. The culture there was horrendous for this to go on, it's unacceptable. Myself, just being a woman in sports, when I do my Comcast jobs reporting, it's me, 40 guys can be on the crew. But is still professionalism.
Right.
Like, that's unacceptable for a woman to feel that, just because she's a woman, she's going to be harassed and, disrespected and just not taken as a professional. These are professional jobs. Everybody's getting paid. We all have jobs to do. Professionalism first and foremost. So I'm glad that it came out. The fact that they had all these NDAs and all this shroud of secrecy behind it is wrong. That's why people don't want to come out, because of that. And my question is, should Dan be ousted? I mean, all of this fell under his leadership.
I didn't do anything. Snyder.
Got you, Dan. Not the marvelous one.
Yeah.
I think he should go. Because as close as he is to this team and how he's always in everybody's and all the inner workings of the team,
right.
He knew this stuff was going on, and if he knew, he should go. Period.
Well, sponsors have already come on, put him on a hot seat. Hence, that's the reason why he had to change the name from the. And
which is ridiculous.
But FedEx and Bank of America and other sponsors have come. They say, hey, listen, we're not moving forward, and this is all about new stadium rights or whatever for the Washington football team. And so Dan Snyder, reluctantly was forced to change the name because I think in 2013 he vowed that he would never change the name. He would never change it. But of course, money talks and BS walks. So
right.
he was forced to make the change.
And the climate. I think the climate now has everything to do with it as well.
Chico Rivera, Ron Rivera, who's the new head coach, former Carolina Panther coach, he said, hey, the culture is going to change. And I know Chico. I've worked with him when he left the game with playing with the Chicago Bears and of course coaching with Lovie Smith. So I get a chance to know Chico Rivera, and he's a hard-nosed guy. He
said, my daughter working here.
Yeah. He said, I think she's 19 years old or whatever, but he said, hey, my daughter would work here, and you can damn believe and bet that ain't happening here anymore.
Right.
So Chico Rivera is now the face of the Washington football team, and he definitely will not tolerate any of that taking place.
Because Gruden was a mess. I mean, the things I heard about him, yes. So, and that has everything to do with it, the leadership of the coach. So I have all faith that he would be able to help turn that thing around. But again, I feel like Dan Snyder.
Yeah, but it was more than the coach. I mean, that's the whole the point about it.
Sure.
That was, they saw what took place at the top. But
that's a part of it too.
And
it's
they
not
say, hey, as long as we're making our numbers, as long as we're doing what we're supposed to do, as far as making the bottom line, we're following leadership, and that's
one
exactly
of the players
that
sent out a text exchange that they had with John Gruden. I don't know if you guys saw that, where he said some deplorable things to him.
Such as
he was saying, "Meet me after practice, and I'm gonna mess you up, and it's on." I mean. I was like, no wonder the team is playing like this. Totally dysfunctional.
Yeah.
From the top to the bottom.
It's terrible in that. And I actually was also fascinated by the whole nickname thing. I mean, why not? I mean, the Indians, Braves, they're talking about the Rangers and the Vikings. How about the Kings? I mean, there could be all kinds of offensive nicknames. So, I mean, it could be a bigger thing. Now, of course, I know about Miami University. The Redskins, they became the Red Hawks, and actually the Miami Tribe was the one that approved the Redskins nickname originally. Right. So actually that was changed for politically correct, but the tribe that allowed the name to be put in the first place said they were fine with it at the time. So that was a little different, but that's the history on Miami University. But this has been going on for a while. I mean, obviously the Redskin. I mean, I guess it's a bad thing. I mean, I guess
it's horrific.
There's no guessing about it. It is bad.
Horrific.
It is bad.
So they call him a pale face. I don't know. I mean,
it's
That's
just
different.
The unfortunate thing is, when this name was put into place, I think it was in the late 20s, early 30s.
They were in Boston then.
Right, exactly. And so think about the society that was back then and the culture that was acceptable. And it just carried over tradition year after year after year.
Somebody said just keep it and have a potato. Redskin potato.
Yeah, I mean, I get it. But one of the front-running names were the Red Tails, named after Tuskegee Airmen.
Right.
Yes.
So it's
I'm for that.
It's long overdue. We're talking 2020, and again, the only reason that he made the change is because of pressure from sponsorship. So I guess they say better late than never, right? Yeah. Better late than never. But Lauren, as far as ousting Dan Snyder, Mark Cuban, if you recall, the owner of the Dallas Maverick,
I know he had something to say.
went under the same scrutiny, so to speak, regarding the franchise and the organization, and he apologized. He paid his fines, and what he ended up doing was hiring an African American woman as president to run the organization, and I believe 50% of the workforce for the Dallas Mavericks are women/minority. So that's the cultural change that Mark Cuban implemented with the Dallas Mavericks basketball team after it was found out that these sort of allegations were taking place as well.
Right. He was serious.
Yeah, and so and he recommended to Dan Snyder to shut up and own up to it. Shut up and own up to it. Yeah. And then
those
make
are
a
two
change.
different owners too. I mean,
yeah, but it's an owner. It's an owner talking to an owner, right? It's an owner talking to an owner. And again, you got Chico Rivera, who is now the face of the franchise, and he's not going to represent something that is less than perfection.
Yes.
I mean, that's just the type of gentleman he is. He's a well-respected individual. He's a very intelligent individual, and he's paid his dues to get to where he is today.
Yes.
I mean, he was overlooked many times, passed over many times, until I forget, someone gave a phone call and say, hey, you may as well, you seriously need to consider this guy.
He's a darn good coach.
Before he finally got a position, I think it was with the Bears, and we know the conflict that happened there as far as defensive coordinator was concerned, Lovie Smith and all that stuff. But Chico Rivera is a hard-nosed, no-nonsense type of guy. His family is fantastic. His lovely wife, and I never met his daughter, but you can believe he's going to change that franchise and change that culture around, both on the field and in the front office.
Yeah, if they play.
Well, yeah. Anything else before we get out of here? It's the fastest hour in sports conversation.
My bestie is here from London, Kalila.
Kalila, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
You're looking fantastic. How do you get here from London? You didn't take 14 days, girl. We ain't trying to call you out, but is this your first time here in the States?
We're all straight on the...
I'm from Chicago. I'm a Chicago girl.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah.
Listen how she's talking. Marvelous. Oh, my. Chicago girl. I got to sit up straight and straighten up my...
That's right.
Oh, my. God bless you.
Absolutely.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in, and she's fantastic.
Yes, she is.
She's a shooting star, a shining star. There's no question about it. Real quick before we get out of here, thank you so very much. I got to say happy birthday to my youngest daughter, Alicia.
Happy birthday,
She celebrated
Alicia.
the entire week. Her birthday was on Friday. We celebrated the entire week, and we capped things off today. We went downtown for a sailboat ride at Navy Pier.
Nice.
And I got stung by a bee. I got stung by a bee.
Not allergic.
My wife saved me, Lauren. She saved me. You say, how did she save you, Jerry? Because the stinger was still in my forearm.
Really?
It was still in my forearm. I took a picture of it. I'm going to have it on Twitter. I'm going to shoot it out. It was stuck in my forearm. She pulled the stinger out. It was unbelievable. I've never seen that before. I mean, so thank you. She saved my life. But I do have to ask, help me out here, guys, because you guys are pretty bright. You're pretty smart. You're pretty sharp. You're pretty fast. Help me out here. Didn't they have to lower the flags around the state, half mask or half staff, because of Corona? Did the governor say that? Do you guys recall anything like that?
I don't recall that.
You guys, come on out. Well, I'm going to say that he did. Okay. And so everywhere is supposed to be around, the state. Everybody lowered it because of the deaths and everything. So in honor, well, we were out sailing on Lake Michigan around Navy Pier, and they got maybe, I don't know, 8, 10, maybe 12 flags, American flags all around. And they're all completely up.
I thought you were going with heading for the John Lewis, the half staff, but...
Well, God bless him. May he rest in peace.
Rest in
How was he? 80?
80.
80 years of
And
age.
that's amazing. That means he was 23 when he spoke at in Washington, and that famous...
We were just talking about that.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
May he rest in peace.
Yes.
But I thought that they
Job
needed
well
to
done.
lower all the flags and everything, especially for John. Yeah. So, Lori, your people, you're listening. You guys are doing a great job. Just lower the flag a little bit. just lower it. That's all they need to do. She's doing a heck of a job.
She is.
Lord, did you see the people all standing outside her house and everything?
Ignorant. Why are you outside of her house? No.
Because they mad.
Use better. It's a better use of your time.
Just stop killing each other. Come on.
What else you want to say, Marvelous?
I mean, that's all I can say about that.
There it is.
You're right. Stop killing each
it.
other. Just stop it.
Love. Peace. Oneness. Meditate on those words.
You sound like Don Cornelius. Peace, love, and soul.
Yes, that's what we need in sports.
You got that right. Lauren Cox, outstanding job. Great to see you. Glad you're safe and sound. And I'm sorry, your beautiful friend again? Kalila. Yes. I know Kalila. That's where I am. Good to see you, girl. And the marvelous one, Dan Marver. Thanks to our producer. What do you want to say?
No, I mean,
come on, man.
Wear a mask. It's like I always say. Yeah.
Wear a mask. And to our great producer, Devin Tingle, it's been another edition of the Rewind Sports 60, the fastest hour in sports conversation. If you missed any portion of the broadcast, definitely check us out on YouTube, Facebook. Go to our website, the Rewind Sports 60, the RewindSports60.com. And of course, ladies and gentlemen, we'll see you on Wednesday at 7 o'clock on Comcast Access, Channel 17, Channel 19, Channel 35. It's been a blast. Have a good one. Stay safe. See you on television. Take care, everybody.
The RewindSports60.com.
The Rewind Sports 60.
Relax. Reset. Rejuvenate. Go to a link right now to restart your life. The RewindSports60.com. What are you waiting for? Hope to see you soon. The Rewind Sports 60.